All right, good morning, everybody. It's Friday, 11 o'clock. This is the facilities roundtable for PIRSA. We've small.
Friday the 13th, Dan. It's Friday
Yep.
the 13th. Happy 2020.
That's what we need.
But I'm looking, we have a small group. I was wondering if we could even just go around the room and everybody just kind of give like your name, title, institution you work, and kind of where you stand right now. If your facility opened in the fall, if it didn't reopen, just kind of maybe a short summary of where you're at in today's world. And I can start. I work at Westchester University, Associate Director of Campus Recreation for Facility and Business Operations. We shut down in March. We're closed all summer. Reopened the first day of class in August. And we are closing 1 week from today. All the students will transition to remote after like the Thanksgiving break. We use the reservation system throughout the semester through IM leagues, and we changed around a lot of our facility. We moved a lot of cardio equipment to like a multi-purpose court. We kind of repurposed or distanced a lot of selectorized equipment, a lot of free weights, things like that, and that's pretty much it. Jimmy on the call. He's the GA at Westchester. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy Stinsman. I'm the graduate assistant for facilities and business operations at Westchester. Nothing really much to add, but it's definitely been an interesting semester. We really saw kind of floor planned our whole building and tried to make it so everything was structured to be as spread out as possible. And realistically, we've saw a lot of use on our third floor, which is really where all of our heavy equipment is, our weight benches, squat racks, stuff like that. And then we moved all of our cardio equipment to our mat court. And shockingly, our mat court, maybe 3 people use it per day. So we haven't seen much use there, but we did spread everything out, tried to make it as, I guess, useful as possible to comply with guidelines. And that's really been it.
I'll go. I'm Chad Indorf, Director of Recreation and Wellness at Gannon University, where we are at. So we have been in-person classes this entire semester. We made a very conscious decision very, very early on, probably April, May, that as a university, we were going to do everything we can to be in person this semester. So most of the summer was spent just, we knew we were going to do whatever we could to be open, and we just made sure that we did what we could to make that happen. We opened up, I think, the week after 4th of July, if I remember right. So we were probably one of the first recreation centers in the state to open up. It's been a pretty successful semester, all things considered. We are running some intramural sports. We are running some sport clubs. We are doing some group fitness classes in person. Not a ton of them, but we're doing a little bit. But the building's open as, again, with addendum, a little bit of changes in rules. But for the most part, we're open as much as we can be. So that's the plan for next semester as well. We're done Wednesday. So next Wednesday is our last day for the semester. We pushed the semester way up, and then we're starting January 25th, I believe, 28th, whatever that Monday is when we're going to start our spring semester. And fingers crossed, we'll get through that semester as well.
Okay, I'll go. I'm Karen Howell. I'm Associate Director of Recreation Services at Lafayette College. And we've been open since the middle of July for mainly students that were pretty much stuck on campus, because we've let all of our international students and few other people remain on campus ever since we shut down. We also use IM leagues, and we did move a lot of our equipment. And it's interesting what you guys at Westchester found out. We moved a lot of cardio equipment up to a multi-purpose court, and we might have 2 or 3 people using that at all times. We have most of our people using our racks and benches and all of our weight area. It's actually kind of crowded sometimes to our, our maximum of 14 people. That's all we're allowed in. We are doing some intramurals, done like pickleball, box soccer. We do have group fit, but we purchase fitness on demand. So we're doing it virtually in our dance room for up to 6 people. So that's some of the things you do. We are remaining open until December 18th. Most of our students are leaving on Friday the 20th, and they're not allowed to return once they leave until spring semester starts. But we will have still about 150 students stuck on campus. So we are operating reduced hours. Right now, I'm actually trying to see if I can get staff to see what those hours will be. So we're working on that. And then we're in the process of maybe starting spring, January 25th, but that is not finalized. We may actually push it back 2 weeks. That's discussions points right now.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Cindy Wright. I'm from Gettysburg College, and we had a very college unsuccessful launch. What happened was we brought everybody back, and COVID spiked really quickly on our campus within the first 2 weeks, and we de-densified. We shut down for a couple of weeks. We made headlines actually around the country because of the way, and we even have a consultant company that we hired to help with all of this. So that was a little bit interesting. So we de-densified, and we just brought back all first years. And I tell you what, it's been phenomenal with our first years. And it's been, I mean, it doesn't have the same feel that a campus community would have, but our first years are so appreciative and so engaged and really excited to be here. And we've opened up, the only facility that we really had available to us was our fitness facility. And we also de-densified that, and we split some of that equipment out and put some of our strength equipment into another multi-purpose room like everyone's sharing. And we fall under athletics. So athletics has been using a lot of that strength equipment, but yet we've still been able to maintain the facilities for our general student population as well. What was really challenging was the student staff, because most of our staff were upper class that we had hired and trained over the past, spring. And so we hired a lot of first years really quickly and trained them and got them on board, and they've been absolutely phenomenal. I'm lucky because I have a lot of international students that are also part of our staff, and they're going to be staying here. We reopen again February 1st. We're closing, go virtual right before Thanksgiving, but then we will open up again after Thanksgiving just for, the couple people that are around. It's going to be, 20 international students, and half of them are going to be keeping the facility open. But we were able to also offer some in-person intramurals, and we've also offered student fitness classes, but they haven't been as strong as we have wished. But I would love to hear more sometime, Karen, about the fitness on demand and how that works. And if you recommend that, I'd love to look into that as well.
Hi, everyone. Chris Hopkins, Associate Director of Facilities at Temple University. It's been a whirlwind, certainly, I imagine, with all of you as well. We opened up in August. We had a hybrid formation academically that got shut down about 2 weeks in. So we went from about 3,500 students living in an on-campus residence hall to about 1,200 swiftly. Fortunately, a lot of our student workers lived in local apartments and housing complexes. So our student staff population kind of held steady, although we did have a couple spikes internally with some COVID positive tests and close contact that impacted our staffing. But with full-time staff and frankly, other staff that were around and how we're trying to manage our fitness floors, we were able to continue as is without having to cut hours or close down or anything at any point, knock on wood. We are about to adjust our hours. Next Friday, we'll shut down to just one facility. Well, technically two. We'll have our pool in our IBC Student Rec Center, where we have a cardio equipment on our second floor, and up to 9 pieces of 9, I'll call them units. We kind of set up our Smith machines and our dual adjustable pulleys and our circuit station, each as individual reservation blocks. They're allowed to get a couple sets of dumbbells or straight bars or preacher bars to bring to their section. And then once their 45 minutes is up, our staff disinfect and put them back, and then we're ready for the next reservation block. Our cardio has been really limited. I think I hear a trend here. We moved all of our non-cardio pieces to our basketball courts, which is a block north of our main fitness center. And we were seeing 2, maybe 3 tops per hour per reservation. There'd be several hours in a row where no one would be there. And then all of our powered cardio remained at the IBC. We were able to kind of spread everything out, completely circumferencing the facility. So as we move into Thanksgiving break and through the end of finals, we're going to consolidate our efforts and move some of this non-powered cardio back to the IBC. Our staffing formation is really dwindled as everyone kind of moves home. So we're kind of forced our hand. Luckily, our lifeguards are sticking around. We have 16 certified lifeguards that are sticking around, and we're able to kind of keep our pool open, which is huge, especially since we just reintroduced full-time staff payroll deduction in October. And our percentage of people who decided to cancel once we re-engage that was really limited. So we're actually starting to see a revenue stream now. So hopefully no one else cancels when they see their November paycheck. Group fitness has been done all through recordings. Weekly basis, they kind of bring people in, do a couple recordings. We're offering 2 to 3 sessions a day. And our numbers have recently climbed. So when we first reopened, we were at like 60, 70 people a day in total, where we would normally see about 4,000, 5,000 people a day, which is crazy. And now we're up to about 120 people a day. So as the weather changes and stuff, we're seeing an increase, which has been good. Our housekeeping staff has been phenomenal with disinfecting over the 3rd shift, walking through the offices, wiping down door handles, all that sort of stuff has been great. But the only intramural programming we've been having has been all through gaming for the most part. And there's been no sport club activity at all. I know conversations have started within the 6 schools in Philadelphia and some other local schools, Westchester, kind of having those conversations with people we know locally to see what they're doing. And I think even through this channel with PIRSA, I know Pete's been trying to get his ear to the ground with what's going to take place with sport clubs. So more to come. We're going to shut it down the 18th. We're not going to have any hours that 21st, 22nd, 23rd. There's just not going to be anybody around, students or staff. Frankly, there's like 3 or 4 cars now in parking lots I'm seeing on campus, and we'll kind of revisit what January 4th looks like. And academics, they'll start the 19th, and no spring break for us in the spring. And I'll stop talking.
Thank you. All right, so kind of listen to everybody. There's a lot of different strategies or just kind of ways of operating. Like the second kind of discussion question is just kind of looking back at the fall semester, what we know today with COVID. Is there anything you do differently in the spring, or what are some things that you're looking to adjust maybe over this winter break? I can start just with Westchester. As Jimmy mentioned, our 3rd floor is pretty much home to like dumbbells, squat racks, bench presses, things like that. And I think with a lot of students not being able to access that type of equipment for a long period of time, that's where probably 70 to 80% of our usage is only on one floor. And during peak times, it does get pretty crowded. So over the winter break, we do plan on kind of looking if we could spread it out, possibly move benches or dumbbells to a different floor, different location. That's really kind of our biggest kind of challenge or project that we're looking at. I'm curious to kind of hear what other departments, might be revisiting or just kind of working on.
Dan, I'll start. The one area that I'm going to investigate or look into over winter break is currently we're set up for 45-minute reservations in our fitness room. We've gotten a handful, and what I mean by handful, I mean literally like, 3 or 4 students that have tried to sign up for multiple spots in a day, saying they can't get their full workout in 45 minutes. So I'm exploring the possibility of maybe 1 or 2 blocks at some point in the day that are a little bit longer. And then everything else would be 45 minutes to try and give an opportunity for individuals that want to go a little bit longer. Like maybe there's an hour-and-a-half block, or I don't know. So those are the types of things that I'm going to look at over winter break, because I fully, I think probably I don't know. I don't want to assume I'm speaking for the group, but I think most of us were hoping that we would return to more normal operations in the spring semester. But I think the reality is setting in that we're probably going to be in the same boat to at least start the semester. So I fully intend, or fully expect, I should say, to start with the reservation system. But I may look to extend like maybe 1 or 2 blocks for, your kind of more, I don't know, lack of a better word, hardcore individuals.
Steve, I'm just going to share something I learned really quickly with IM Leagues the other day in one of the PIRSA presentations. I'm not sure if you were in that one or not, where Tyler talked about, do you have IM Leagues, Dave? I'm not, yes. There's a new function in there that you can set up, and you can have participants go and look to see the capacity of a facility, which is great because we're so small, we don't have that. And so I'm thinking of really tapping into that, because right now we haven't even filled. Our capacity is so small. I mean, we're at 50 total in our capacity. We've never even come close to hitting it, but I think that will change in February. But that might help us, setting that up in IM Leagues for people to see, oh, there's only 20 people in the room right now. I'm going to pop down and continue my workout.
I have a question. Dave, I'll just add, we have 55-minute slots and 70-minute slots. Two to 3 days, 2 to 3 a day, we have 70 minutes. That's kind of helped. But we shut down right now 2 to 3 times a day for cleaning, because of the touch. But now that the CDC is not really promoting that, and we're also seeing all of our students, unbelievably so, everyone cleans their equipment. I've never seen that before, but it's pretty cool. I'm wondering if everyone does have clean times, and if they're thinking about in the spring getting rid of some of them or not having them at all during the day, because we're going to have a full campus next semester. We only had 600 students this semester, but we know we're going to have a lot more. And our capacity for both our spaces is 14 and 16. And we're going to have 2,000 students on campus. So we know we're going to be swamped.
So we don't currently have, we're not shutting down at all throughout the day. We're opening at 6 o'clock in the morning. We close down at 11:30 p.m. We did not do that cleaning schedule. I know some places have, but kind of like what you were saying, I think the further we go along, the more they say that the touch points is not the biggest point of concern. It's obviously or not obviously, but it's the breathing and the whatever we exhale. So we haven't gone that route. We're actually probably not looking to change a whole lot. This isn't normally the case, but the plan that we put in place to open the building actually worked for once. So normally you put in you go and you plan something and it doesn't work out, and you got to kind of reevaluate after day one. And day one, we were in a pretty good spot. So as of right now, we're not planning on changing a whole lot. We have 2 electrostatic cleaners that we do use every once in a while on certain pieces of equipment or around the facility. So we will be using those, but we're planning on staying open for the most part all over Christmas break. We have community members as well that use our facility. So, and we'll have a few, it sounds like a couple hundred students maybe on campus over break. So not going to be a whole lot of changes. I don't think, at least, hopefully for next semester, but we'll see. The cases in Erie have risen. So almost the whole time we were well under 100 cases in the city. We're pushing 700 now. So in the last week and a half, we're seeing 600-700% cases rise in cases in the area. So we'll kind of see what's going to happen. But we've been immune to a lot of the rise in cases, but just not recently.
Yeah, so just to touch on where we're at with that. So currently we have 75-minute reservation slots. And then we do shut down for 15 minutes for our RAs and supervisors to really clean our building. And then on Wednesday nights we also have like a time after our building shut down, like a 2-hour period where our RAs and supervisors they clean. We call it a deep clean, just to make sure. Because at Westchester we did see a spike in COVID cases. The county did go into a lockdown at one point. So for us, cleaning was really essential. And we really, during that time, we kind of relooked at our mask policy as well, making sure people are constantly wearing their masks when they're in the gym, only to prevent any type of spread coming directly from our facility. But we do utilize IM leagues for all our reservations, and we've seen, I guess, fairly good. We haven't really had many people ask that saying that they need longer time slots. I mean, 75 minutes is a pretty long time to be in the gym. We've had some people ask if they could do 2 reservations in a day, but for the majority of our students, the 75 minutes has been enough. And usually we see people leaving before the last 15 minutes of the reservation. So it even gives us a head start on our cleaning and just to be able to really clear out the building before we use that time to clean and then open back up.
Yeah, we've been doing 45-minute reservations with 30-minute cleans, and we were noticing that that's way too much time to clean. So I think we're going to make an adjustment. We've only gotten one complaint about not having enough time to work out. That was when we opened up the strength floor. The other thing we're going to do, we're looking at, since our strength floor is only 9 units, they're selling out, especially from about 2 o'clock on. They're getting fully 100% used, and our retention rate of actually people showing up is usually around 90%. So we have another facility that we haven't opened at all that was part of our phase 3. So that we're hoping to be able to open that facility. The problem is that facility is in the same building as our public health department, which is the main home to where a lot of our hybrid classes are actually being held. We know already that the dean of that school has already kind of given us the side eye, and I hope that gym doesn't open while we're open. So we're taking a look at how we can kind of queue people in that facility so that they're not hanging in the general lobby area, get them out of sight, out of mind. So working on that. I do have a question for the group though. Our environmental health has not approved us to allow showers usage yet. So I'm curious what the pulse is on that. It really boils down to touch points and what showers people use and things of that nature. That they don't think that the heat or the water is going, or the droplets of water from the shower is going to be a spreader. But curious, we would love to. That seems to be the main complaint we get, especially now that we reopen the employee portal and they're using it and they're making reservations. What the deal is with that? Still closed.
We're open. We cut down half of the showers. So if it was up to me, we'd be closed. I got overruled on this one, but by my boss. But I was an advocate of not having the locker rooms open from the get-go. It was harder with our community members because we have quite a few of the courthouses are almost right across the street. And there's a big group of them that come over and work out at lunchtime. And I mean, they need to have showers in order to go back to work. We cut down every other shower. So we used to have 6 open. Now we have 3 open. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really helps that much, to be completely honest, just because I mean, we still have 3 people in a relatively small area with probably not as good a ventilation as we have, unmasked, and I mean, you know all the issues. So we are open. That was not my call. If it was up to me, the locker rooms would be closed. All of our varsity locker rooms are closed. So each of our varsity teams are able to store, I take that back. Our football team is able to store their pads in there. Our other sports teams are not even allowed to use their locker rooms. So yeah, we're kind of doing what we can with it. But if it was up to me, I'd shut the water off in the entire building.
I'll say at Westchester, we closed all of our locker rooms, kind of put stanchions in front of all of the showers themselves. We do have one like unisex handicap restroom that does have a shower that I have noticed like occasionally it gets used, but there's really only one in the building that we say no showers, and there's really only one that it possibly could get used. And I might have noticed like 3 times throughout the semester that maybe the floor's been wet, somebody has used it as a shower. But I think we are staying closed like indefinitely until we get other notice.
Yeah, all of our locker rooms are closed, general and varsity. We don't even open them up to allow them to use the restroom facilities in there, just because we know that that'll just give an opportunity for them to hop into a shower. And so we keep all those areas closed. We have regular standalone restrooms that they use. But yeah, and there's been no discussion about changing that, at least in anywhere in the near term.
I just wanted, we opened our pool for our employees, and we did not even open the locker rooms there. We actually purchased pool cabanas and actually have 4 of them on deck. And we do have a bathroom stall on deck for a handicap, so accessibility. So that is all that is available to them. And believe it or not, it has gotten cold and they all wait in line. There's 6 people out in there. There's not all of them can't use the cabana at once, but they just wait and they change, and that's fine. And we spray them down after every pool session.
All right, moving on to the next question. How does your campus track COVID cases, and how does that kind of affect your daily operations? And I can start with Westchester. Our student health they pretty much track where cases are positive, roommates who might be in danger of being positive, and they've pretty much sent me a list every morning, and I use IM Leagues and I restrict access or suspend that patron for whether it's a week, 10 days, 2-week period. But I will say, as kind of cases have risen, it has been like a lot of manual data entry each morning. I was just curious to see kind of what other schools were doing to like restrict access to patrons using the rec center, and just overall how your university tracks like positive cases.
Dan, it's a great question, one that I'm trying to work through myself here at Newman. We have a dashboard, public dashboard, where you can see all of our numbers, but obviously no names are included on that. I recently started getting the list, but more so because I was getting student workers that were on that list saying, they're not going to be able to work anymore. And it's not necessarily positive cases, it's all those that are quarantined, the potential exposures. So here are the list of students today that are being put to quarantine, and then I go through that and, okay, now I know I need to take this person off the work study schedule and open up their shifts. But I do have that worry, or maybe the fear is a better word. They're concerned that there are individuals that are supposed to be quarantined, and I may not have gotten that list earlier enough to know that. The one fallback that I've pretty much been relying on, though, is that I have in the athletic department, we have 3 contact tracers that are heavily involved. So when they also help with the reservation system, we kind of have a tag team effort. So when they see a name on there, like, hey, this person is supposed to be under quarantine. And for the most part, actually, I can say for as far as I know, no one that under quarantine has come in to use the facility. So I'm kind of relying on a bit of an honor system. And so far, knock on wood, it's worked out well. But I hope that continues. I just worry about that, people get a little bit lax as things go further along. So we'll see.
We have at Gettysburg a team that is in charge of all of that. So if it's a need to know basis, if I need to know any concerns, so it's nothing that I'm personally tracking. And so far, nothing has been traced back to any of our programs within the umbrella of campus recreation.
Awesome. Kind of moving on, next question. Does anybody have any facility projects they're currently working on, whether it's like COVID or not COVID related, over winter break that, maybe you just want to share facility wide?
We don't have anything over winter break. Winter break is going to be mostly deep cleaning. The building's going to be open. I don't foresee many people in the building though, so my students aren't going to like me because we're going to be vacuuming and wiping down walls and cleaning a lot. But oh well, at least it'll give them something to do. We do have, hopefully, knock on wood, or hopefully, fingers crossed, a big project coming with our pool over the summertime. We're looking at our president's leadership team is looking at capital funding projects right now, kind of seeing where we're at budget wise. And I've submitted a pretty big one for our pool. So like I said, I'm hopefully going to have some pool renovations being done this summer. It's too big of a project for over Christmas break though.
I did have another question in terms of PPE. I know at Westchester, we struggle to have enough gloves sometimes for our students to clean every reservation slot. I was just curious to kind of where maybe everybody orders their PPE from. Is it something that the university orders, or is it just campus recreation? And if you had a vendor that was like reliable and able to kind of ship things on time and maybe not be back ordered all fall.
I had some success with Granger a couple months ago and bulked up, but that has since that supply, it was like all of a sudden nothing was moving from the shelves. And I don't know if housekeeping is borrowing ours or if our students are just using them more. We are getting more users, so maybe it's a little bit of both, but all of a sudden they seem to be flying off the shelves. We report to the chief operating officer, so we have a close relationship with our senior director of purchasing. And having that long relationship, she actually called John last week and said, "Hey, I found a vendor that's got gloves. Do you need any?" I'm like, it was like a beacon, thank God, because we were running really low and Granger wasn't going to have a supply until like January. So we're waiting on that. I try to order like as much as I could of every size. I don't know the name of the vendor that she used. She's been hunting because she's obviously helping with the procurement for the hospital and for housekeeping and university wide to get the cheapest deal. So we're going to be a part of that order, and I hope we get what we asked for.
Awesome. So they were really all the questions I had prepared. I'm wondering if anybody had any questions they really wanted to ask the group, or anything we want to discuss in particular.
I did have one. Kind of wanted to see how what the group thought about it. But just kind of grab a feeling in terms of how everyone's doing their reservations on each floors. Because as I mentioned earlier, we do have a high majority of our people coming in our facility flocking up to our third floor. So really trying to get a grasp on that and figure out if that's something we have to change in terms of how many people do you guys allow on each floor? Do you guys have any set numbers, and really how do you monitor that in tracking? All right, this many people's on this floor, no one else is allowed on this floor for this reservation time, and stuff like that.
I'll help you there. We have reservations for each space. So even to the point that for people that want to shoot baskets, they have to reserve we allow 3 people. And we can't do more because we found that more tends to become 2 on 2. But people enter different entrances. So we actually hired additional student staff and put mock desks at one additional entrance that we never used before. So depending on what area of the building you want to go to, that's the entrance you go to. And that's kind of helped us keep people where they're supposed to go. And you can't go up and down our stairs without a master key because you'll get locked in the stairwell, and the only way out is outside. So then you have to re-enter the building. So we have gates, like the only people, like even the coaches in athletics don't like it because their keys don't work everywhere on our side of the building per se, and they get stuck on stairwells. But we're not changing it. So,
Yeah, we're very similar. Not locking people in stairwells similar, but we're very similar with individual reservations. I mean, we have, you just sign up for a spot for the fitness room, walking track, like we turned our track to just walkers, no running. We also have signups for the baskets, you know, if you want to shoot baskets, and we have 4 slots available with our baskets, but that's because we have 4 baskets on our floor, and it's 1 person per basket to, you know, take out any 2v2 or 3v3 options. So, but you have to sign up for a specific spot. So when they come in the door to our front desk, they let them know when their reservation time is, what its spot for it is, and we check them off and send them on their way to the appropriate room. And so far we haven't had any issues where they've tried to go to different places. So it's worked out so far.
Any other questions or discussion topics before we wrap up?
I have one question. What's your general theory if people are benching and spotting, or allowing it or not allowing it?
Not
Yeah,
allowing
let's
it
just-
at Temple. That's why we just selected the Smith machines and the cable systems to kind of keep everything individually monitored from a safety perspective. That might change in the spring when we open up Star, when we, you know, a power rack is an option and a half rack is an option. It's to see how safety precautions we need to address, but we haven't really had those conversations in depth yet, but it's definitely a concern of ours, spotting for sure.
We're allowing them to spot. They're not allowed to be like next to each other for the entire workout though. The reason we did is because we require masks. CDC guidelines say that as long as they're wearing masks, they can be within 6 feet of somebody, for 15 minutes, I think they're saying right now. And as long as we were monitoring that, and I had a student staff up there in our weightlifting area the entire time now, monitoring to make sure that, you know, they're not hanging out right next to each other. That was the reasoning why we went with being able to spot, as long as we had somebody up there monitoring to make sure that people weren't just congregating next to each other the entire time. I will say though that we did get a heads up from our health department, and we're hoping that they go the other way. But one of the new CDC guidelines that they were thinking about saying was that instead of being within somebody that 6 feet for 15 minutes, they were talking about making that 15 minutes cumulative for a 24-hour period. So if that happens, that's going to screw up everything we do with contract tracing, everything that we do with our socially distancing, because somebody could be, you know, spotting somebody for a minute at a rack, they could be, or at a bench, they could be living with somebody and they're watching TV by sitting next to somebody. So anyways, that if they go with that interpretation of these guidelines next, I think that's really going to change some of the things that we do all throughout the facility. I think it'll really affect athletics as well, because if you talk about a 2-hour practice, you can socially distance, but within a 2-hour practice, you're probably going to come cumulatively within 6 feet of somebody, probably the whole team. So again, contact tracing is going to become a mess if they go down that route, in my opinion.
We have allowed the spotting, similar to what Chad is saying. Everyone's required to wear a mask in our fitness room, even if they're on cardio equipment. They have to keep the mask on the entire time. But I guess to his point, and you know, we've had a confirmed positive case utilize the fitness room, and anyone that was in there at that time, just as a precaution, went into a mandatory 14-day quarantine. So I guess that's the trade-off, you know, just because, and it didn't even matter if they were spotting them or not. It's if they were in the room with them, we still put them under quarantine, just to be on the safe side.
You going,
Yeah,
Jimmy?
so I will say at Westchester, we do allow spotting. We have been allowing our students to spot individuals, whether that be on a squat rack or a bench. But they do have to wear a mask. And as we upped our mask policies, it's a mask anytime you're in the building. So we just make sure our student staff's doing their job and making sure that these students are wearing their masks over their nose and they're not really allowing for any leeway there. Because as long as they're wearing the mask over the nose, per what we're being told, it's works and it's preventive in preventing the spread. So we kind of decided just to keep going by that and wait until we hear any different.
Being in Philadelphia, I'd say everyone, please cross your fingers for us. We're doing a great job. We're getting tons of accolades, but our doctor who heads the public health of Philadelphia paints with a very broad brush, and with city things kind of going a little bonkers right now, we're hoping we can stay away from that brush. But every day is a new crazy news that comes out. John, our director, gets a daily 3 p.m. briefing on what's going on university wide with the city. But I know Jersey just made some changes, and we're hoping that we can kind of steer clear of not having to shut down, because I think the students really need it. And obviously our numbers are going up, and want to continue to provide what we've been providing safely.
Any other questions, topics? All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm going to stop the recording now and enjoy the weekend.
Have a good weekend.